Hello everyone. I welcome you all for today's session on digital system design using Verilog. Lecture 5 on module 2, that's about memory. I'm your friend Madhavas Khanderao, Assistant Professor, Department of PNC, Gausia College of Engineering, Ramnagar. If you are new to my channel and if you're not subscribed to my channel, subscribe to my channel, click on the bell icon for further notification or go to the description for the earlier videos. So in today's topic, we'll be covering about multi-port memories. In the previous session, we have concentrated on memory types and we have seen the different types of memory types. So in today's concept, we'll just concentrate on multi-port memories. So what is this multi-port memories? So before understanding that, let us see what we have seen about the previous session there. We have studied about single port memory there. What is a single port memory? It is having a input address, it's having a input data, chip enabled, write enabled, and output enabled, and one output. Okay, so if you observe, each of the memory that we have looked at is a single port memory with just one port for writing and reading of the data at a time. So there is only one port which is performing the operation. Okay, it has only one address input, even though the data connection may be separated into input and output connections. Okay, whereas in multi-port memory, it is having two address lines. Okay, generally. In multi-port memory, we have a multiple address inputs with corresponding data input and the output. One of the best example for the multi-port memory is that it's about dual port memory. Okay, so the most common form of multi-port memory is dual port memory, as shown in the figure, which has two operations concurrently, where two operations can be performed simultaneously. So the multi-port memory typically consumes more circuit area because when we have to design this kind of a model, then it consumes a huge area there. Okay, why it consumes huge area that it may be using decoders, multiplexers, extra connections in the design. Okay, so a multi-port memory typically consumes more circuit area than a single port memory with the same number of bit storage, since it has separate address decoders and the data multiplexer for each accessing port. For each port, it needs decoder and multiplexer, so the hardware becomes smoother. So only the internal storage cell of the memories are shared. Only the internal memories are shared between the multi-port memory. Through the additional wiring is needed to connect the cell to access the port. Okay, so when the memories are common, only the extra wiring what is needed with the help of decoder and multiplexer is helpful for accessing the particular shared memory. What may be the problem in accessing this kind of a multi-port is that if the combined rate at which the subsystem need to move data in and out of the memory exceed the rate at which the single access port can operate, the memory becomes bottleneck. So when accessing a combined rate at which the subsystem move the data in and out, if it exceeds compared to the single port memory, then that is a problem what it is occurring here. So another problem what it may occur is that even if the average rate does not exceed the capacity of single port, if the two subsystems need to access the memory at the same time, one must wait, possibly causing it to lose the data. The meaning of this one is that when two multi-port memory want to access the same memory location, then there is a conflict which to be accessed. So one solution what here we can do is what can happen is that one port should wait till the another port is completing the operation. So since it has to wait, so the access rate becomes little bit longer compared to the single port memory. Okay, what are these conflicts? Let us see in detail here. The only remaining difficulty in the case of both subsystems accessing the same memory location at a time, as we said, accessing the same location becomes problem here. So for example, if both S's are read, if both the port access the read operation, then they can proceed because read doesn't affect the data in the memory. But if one is read and other is write, or if one or both is write, the effect depends upon the characters of a particular dual port memory now. So when this kind of problem occurs, how this multi-port memory is designed, the characteristics of this multi-port will decide this issue there. Now, when we say that one, let us see here. First thing is that if it is a asynchronous dual port, a write operation performed concurrently with the read operation of the same location, what will happen here is that immediately after the next clock cycle or certain delay, we will read the return data also there. So in asynchronous dual port memory, a write operation performed concurrently with a read of the same location will result in a return data being reflected on the read port after certain delay, as I said, because when the operation is performed, it will read immediately then, okay, because it's an asynchronous operation. Now, if you want to perform two write operation, one has to wait it by default because if it is not waiting, which data is written, it is unpredictable there. So in the case of synchronous dual port, the effect of concurrent write operation depends on when the operations are performed internally by the memory. So how much delay it will be taking depends upon the memory design there in the synchronous design. So some multi-port memory, particularly those manufactured as a packed component, provides additional circuit that compares the address on the access port and indicate when the contention arises. So whatever the packed memory is being designed by the manufacturer, there what they are doing is that they are adding certain additional circuit which will be comparing the addresses of the dual port and perform the respective operation there. Okay. One of the example, let us see is that what we have to design. Develop a Verilog model of a dual port where the size of the memory is 4K, each of 16 bit. It's a flow through SSRAM. Okay, now we are concentrating on flow through SSRAM. So one port allows the data to be written and read. Means that one port is allowing to perform both the operation of read and write, while the other port performs only read. So we are noting the suffix as 1 for the port 1, 2 for the port 2 there. Okay. Now, if you observe data out 1 for the port 1, so you can observe all these are port 1. The remaining things are port 2. Okay. Where write 1 is used for performing the write and read operation. Here enable is used for performing only read operation because it is only read there. Since it is a flow through operation, you can observe, and we are writing a synchronous one. So the passage of a clock, when enable is 1 and write enable is 1 for port 1, whatever the data is there, it is written to the memory. And since it is flow through, data 1 is passed to the data output 1 there. Else it should perform read, right? Then read of the memory is given to the data out for the port 1 there. Now for the port 2, if enable is 1, whatever is the data stored in the memory address 2 is read to the data output 2 there. So if you observe, two always blocks are used to perform multi-port operation. One always block for one port, another always block for another port. The same thing is explained it here. So here in this flow through operation, two always blocks are used, one for each port, where one is performing the read write operation for the first port, another is performing the read operation for the second port. Okay, same thing is being explained it here. So there is no special provision for the possibility of concurrent write and read access to the same address. So we are not providing the special design so that it accesses the same memory location for performing read and write. But during simulation of the model, one or the other block will be active first. So what happens in the simulation is that the hardware decides which should come first and second. Okay. So if the block for the read and write code is activated first, it updates the memory location and reads the operation, needs the updated value. Okay. Same way, On the other hand, if the block for the read only port is activated first, it reads the old value before the location is getting updated. So if read is activated first, it reads whatever the previous data is stored and the new value will be updated in the consecutive clock cycle. So when the model is synthesized, the synthesis tool will decide which dual port component is mapped with the available library that will be displayed there. So the effect of concurrent write and read would depends on the behavior of the chosen component decided by the library there. Okay. So second thing, the best way of designing the dual port is that we have most important design is first in first out memory. We call that one as FIFO. That is first in first out. It is used to queue the data arriving from a source to be processed in order of arrival by the another substrate. Means that whatever the data it is receiving, it will store it in the form of queue there, and it will send the output whichever it has received first to the other end then. So we can say it as it is called as first in first out, or it is making use of the form of circular buffer. What is that circular buffer? Once, if you know a circle, if you start from one point, there's a 400-meter running point. You start from one point, they have to cover the entire circle, and again you have to cross the first point itself. Then it says that 400 meters. Same way here also, when it is starting from the first address location, after the entire memory is full, again it has to come back to the first port there. So that is how it is making use of a circular buffer there. So each port has an address counter to keep track of where the data is written on. That's we have to do that. Because in there are multiple ports, we need to keep track of where the data is read or written. So we have a counter for that number. So data written onto the FIFO is stored in successive free location. When the write address counter reaches the last location, it again comes back to the location 0. That is, it traps to the location 0. Same way, in the read operation, in the read operation, the successive locations are read, and once it comes to the memory location 0, again the location go back to the previous address there. That is about comes to the 0 there. So a data is read, the read address counter is advanced to the next available location, also wrapping to the 0 when the last location is reached. When entire data is read, again it comes back to the starting address 0 there. So this is the simple operation of FIFO. So if the FIFO write address wraps around and catches up with the read, now assume that when both operations are performed simultaneously, if read and write address match to the same location, then we say that the FIFO is either full and can accept no more data. Okay, if the read address catches with the write address, then we say it as FIFO is empty and provide no more data for reading the data then. So when here comparison should happen for the read operation and the write operation of the port. Okay, thus a FIFO can store a variable amount of data depending on the rate of writing and reading of the data there. The size of the memory needed in the FIFO depends on the maximum amount by which the reading of the data lacks the writing. So the designer will design in such a way that there is a gap between the read and write operation of a memory there. Okay. Depending upon this difference, the size of the memory of a FIFO is being decided. Now let us take a simple example, what we have here. A FIFO, design a FIFO to store up to a 256 data items of each of 16-bit using 256 cross 16-bit dual port SRAM for data storage. So this is the size of a memory. The FIFO should provide status output as shown in the symbol. Status output means either the memory is full or empty there to indicate when the FIFO is empty or full. Assume that FIFO will not be read when it is empty, nor it is written when it is full. That's a simple concept what we have to design. And that the write and read port shares the common clock. Now here one more problem what they added is that both are using same clock. So the data path for the given design, we can observe it that This is a dual port RAM where it is having address, write, data, write enable, clock, address read, data read, read enable, clock. If you observe clock, both are common. Now we have to keep a track of write address and read address. We have separate counter for that one for performing that. Now since it is a 256 memory, we have counter of 8 bits which counts the entire 256. So it is read enable for read address of a memory, write enable for the write address of the memory there. Okay, and it compares the both the data. If it is equal, either it is empty or a full, it will decide it. So write address refers to the next free location in the memory provided the FIFO is not full. So read address refers to the next location to be read provided if FIFO is not empty. Both counters are cleared to 0 when the reset signal is activated. So both become 0 when it is reset is activated there. So the FIFO being empty is indicated by two address counter having the same value. All the operations as I just said, if equal will compare, if both are same, either is empty or full, it will be decided there by the counter. So we keep track of the one way to solve this is we can keep track of number of items in the FIFO. Okay. For example, by using a separate up-down counter to count number of items rather than trying to compare the address. So to resolve this thing, what we can do is that how many number of data is read or written, we have to use one more extra counter for that one instead of comparing the read and write address. Okay, this issue can be solved there. Now let us see the control design for that one. That is about FSM. So however, a simpler way is to keep track of whether the FIFO is filling or emptying. Filling or emptying. So if it is empty, when you are performing write operation, it fills. So write operation without a concurrent read means FIFO is filling. A write address becomes equal to the read address. It means consequently the FIFO is filling and the FIFO is full. Okay, and both are saying FIFO is full. If a read operation without a concurrent write means FIFO is emptying. Okay, so FIFO is emptying the data. So if the write address becomes equal to the read address, it means that FIFO has become empty after reading the operation. So if write and read operation occurs concurrently, the amount of data in the FIFO remains unchanged. If both the operations performing simultaneously, then there is a gap between the write and read address. So that remains unchanged to the entire operation. So the filling or emptying state remains unchanged always. Okay, so this is the thing what is happening. How it is done? By controlling the FSM. Okay, with the help of write enable and read enable respectively. So this is write enable and read enable, and this is performing first write enable. If FIFO is empty, keep on writing, the data gets filled here. If it is filling, if it is filled, perform the read operation, it will be emptying the memory location there. So FSM starts in the emptying state. If the empty status output is 1, empty status output is 1, if the current state is emptying and the equal signal is 1, and the full status output is 1 if the current state is filling and the equal signal is 1 there. Okay, this way the operation is performed. So the control sequence relies on the assumption of common clock between the FIFO ports, since the FSM must have a single port according to the given problem there. So one important use of FIFO is to pass the data between subsystem operating with different clock frequencies. So this is the advantage what we have, that is between the different clock domain. One of the best example is that parallel in, serial out. So what happens here is when you're taking the data parallelly, it is having one clock. When you're transmitting the data serially, it is having another clock. So at that time, this kind of design plays a crucial part for the memory design. So when the data arrives asynchronously, we need to resynchronize it with the clock. So whatever the multiple clocks are there, we have to think in such a way that again it has to be synchronized with the common clock there. So if the sending domain clock is faster than the receiving domain, then the data being resynchronized may be overrun by the further array. So resynchronizing what? The data means passing it through 2 or more registers. As we already seen the concept, if it is asynchronous, if you want to synchronize, we have to add the flip-flop to make it synchronizing the operation there. Okay.
If you have any questions, go to the comment section, write down the question, I'll reply to your question. If you like my video, subscribe to my channel and share with your friends. If you like my video, click on the bell icon for further notification. Thank you.